Welcome back. So today we'll be reading another chapter which is relevant for this whole series of lectures that I was preparing, and as we know that this is intended for academics people, and hence although I'm following a particular book that and in that book you will find a lot of other chapters, but I'm picking up relevant one for the community that we are, that the academic community. So in that context, I would say this is the relevant chapter. I mean, although I started the course or the lecture series with the intention of giving detailed lectures on product design and development, but it turns out that there are actually a lot of details thing. Some details are very much related to products, and of course in the first video, or maybe not first but the second video, we know the various stages of product development, starting with the concept development and then detailed design, etc. So all those chapter about detailed design and all those things, those are more relevant for engineering people, and of course more I would say relevant for more very serious product development. But in our case as a community, I mean, the product that we mean is actually the conceptual ideas and how we formulate our research on bigger research goals, so that it can be potentially a product idea in future in terms of a patent. You encapsulate it, and then someone will make a license out of it, or it will be licensed. So I mean, so in that context, I was basically cutting down a lot of material. In fact, all those stages of important stages of product development, like the detailed design, industrial design, various things, those are I'm skipping, because those are very niche topic for very serious product development, which are like maybe it can be very simple, as well as it can be very complex system like airplane. It can be a simple system like a cup holder, which makes you take a hot coffee. It's easy to take hot coffee with a holder of which surrounds the cup, plastic cup, or whatever it is. I don't know the material exactly, but anyway, so I'm intending that this will be the last chapter that I will be giving lecture on it, and I think this will be enough. Maybe in future, if I feel need, then I will add some extra topic into this playlist of product design and development lecture series. And again, to remind you, this is not exactly the product design and development for the real serious product or people from industry doing serious research into that, but rather for people from academic background, and to make sure that they get the glimpse of the product design and development, and how it been formulated, the ideas and all that, so that it helps the whole lecture series helps them to formulate interesting research ideas, and have a macro view of their whole project, let's say for bigger time, like say 10-year plan, or maybe 15-year plan. I mean, nobody can say about what will happen 5 years, but we all do some bigger visionary plan, and then we work on it year after year. So today we'll be reading learning patent and intellectual property, and how this is important for product design and development. So what is intellectual property or IP? I mean, I say patent and intellectual property, but intellectual property is more of an encapsulating bigger term, and the patent and all these other things comes in under it actually. So question is, what is intellectual property? So basically intellectual property is legally protectable ideas, concept, names, design and processes associated with a new product. So in our case, academic background, it's mostly patents actually, not the... Okay, so I'll just leave it here and try to describe everything and then come back again. So intended to provide an incentive and reward to those who create new useful inventions. So in the right side we can see very simple, it's just well known, and whoever gone to Starbucks, they know that they give like this side covering of for the coffee cup, so that you can hold, because those coffee are like the ready-made, very hot, so you can't hold it without these side covers. And in fact, since I'm making these videos in terms of in Indian context, so let me bring some interesting example. So in India actually, we, rather than coffee, mostly tea is more popular in the middle class. And as you go to any shop, most of the shop, some shop, they give the cup which is made of earth, that means mud, that means how should I put it, it's basically mud which transform into brick, how should I put it, like whatever the brick, we know that the brick is basically the made from mud, and then of course it's gone through some processing through the fire and all these things. So in some shops they give these mud cups which are basically brickized, or whatever, if that is the right word, because I don't know, most probably there is no English word for that. But so that is one version, and you can, if you are taking that, then it's easy to hold. There is a certain way to hold, you need to, but in case of a coffee here, or in some lot of cases also, they use plastic cups and all these things. So you've got to be careful, even when they're using the glass cup, there also you need to be careful about holding it, because it's very hot and all these things. So in those cases, they don't come up with this invention actually, although from the outlook this looks very simple as an invention, but there is a patent in fact on it, and you will see in the patent. I'm not going into the patent, particular that patent, but you can always check, and I will give the reference. So there is intricate detail and how this particular extra layer of it's not, first of all, it doesn't seem like but anyway, so there is a patent on it. And so what I'm trying to bring here is that this small innovation is very important. Nobody think in India about using this sort of a thing, so that people can hold the cup, although maybe because those are not like a in India actually, in Western world actually, things are, there is, the businesses are more structured, I would say. But in India, I would say that businesses are more, a lot of businesses are actually families based businesses, and so they don't bother about creating innovation, because they, most probably because lack of education, I would say, and maybe less competition, who knows, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's hard to comment on this thing, but certainly nobody thought about this kind of innovation, although it's very simple, but it creates a very distinctive image on impression on the brand. The Starbucks, a lot of people use that. I think I remember that in one of the, when I was taking coffee from the Starbucks, then they gave this thing, and I feel like it's very useful, because unless you will never be able to hold a hot coffee, but with that you can hold actually. So in that sense, I remember very distinctly that this is a good thing. But anyway, so let's move ahead. It's kind of deviating. So there are 4 types of intellectual properties. One thing that we know everyone is patent, and then other is trademark, other is trade secret, and another is copyright. So copyright, we know that's mostly related to books and entertainment material, video, etc., etc. Video, books, videos, that sort of thing. Now, related to the product, their single product can have various or even 4 category of IP together, but I think it has to be filed differently and all this thing. So in the below figure, you can see the intellectual property is divided into patent, trademark, copyright, trade secret, and of course patents are also 3 types: utility patent, design patent, and patent plant patents. So I think I discussed this thing long ago in some other video, but yeah, let's forget about that. So for this chapter, we will be focusing only on the patent. Trademark, we'll just give some basic detail of it. So let's move ahead. So a patent is a temporary monopoly granted by a government to an inventor to exclude others from using an invention. In most countries, a patent expires 20 years from the filing date. So that we know, 20 years. And of course, after that, you can, if you think that your invention you want to protect again, then you can always file for extension and all these things. So mind you, you have to pay some extra charge and all this thing. But 20 years good enough, and a lot of people extend their patent and all this thing. But mind you, having a patent doesn't mean that it will be licensed by everyone, and people are lining up for licensing all of this. Most of the time, patents are, at least in academia, in principle, you work on something and you thought like, okay, so this is a good idea, and design and whatever it is, and it can be a software also, or the design of a software. Design means the mathematics or whatever it is, and so you want to just protect it, and then it's not just one patent, but also further you do research and you have another patent and all these things. So you create some sort of a techno-legal boundary that this is my domain, and if company is trying to work on it, so they thought they can't overpass you, like they can't infringe on your patent and all this thing. So that's one strategy, but I would say most of the time in academia it's more of prestige to have IPs or patents, and then of course if you are lucky, if you are dedicated, then maybe in future you do something out of it by yourself, by spin-off or something like that. So that's the way it is. Second category of IP can be trademark. A trademark is an exclusive right granted by a government to a trademark owner to use a specific name or symbol in association with a class of products or services. In the context of product development, trademarks are typically brands or product names. Third category of IP is trade secret. A trade secret is information used in a trade or business that offers its owner a competitive advantage and that can be kept secret. Perhaps the most famous trade secret is the formula for the beverage Coca-Cola. That I don't know what that means. Anyway, so trade secret, these are not really relevant for us. And of course, a copyright is an exclusive right granted by a government to copy and distribute an original work of expression, whether literature, graphics, music, art, entertainment, or software. So these are 4 types of IP, and mostly we will be interested in patents. For example, here we can see in the figure the utility patent can be. So basically, when we say patent, it's basically, in our case, it's mostly utility patent, where we have something useful which can be used as a subsystem of something, or as a whole, it's some sort of a product or some sort of an instrument or whatever it is. It has to be novel, non-obvious, and etc. Various criteria, and it actually differs. This criteria of patentability differs in for different countries. It is little bit different, So, and those are defined by the laws of IP laws of various countries. So in case of India, there was like 1970 or somewhere they passed a law or something like that on that actually. Anyway, design patent, that's basically, as I can see from the information, it's based on only, it is true, it is in context to ornamental design only. And plant patent, that is another type of patent which I believe is like a different breeds of plants and hybrid breed or genetically modified, whatever it is. And I think there are a lot of controversy, a lot of time you will find in the paper that the big corporation, agricultural corporation, they patent a lot of varieties of plants, and the local farmers can't grow it because those are patented or something like that. So it's very very controversial, I would say. Trademark, you can see, as I said, this is the Nike's symbol, I would say, if I'm not mistaken. And the copyright is, like, for example, this is the book from where I'm making this material, the lectures, and so that's part of the copyright, that is copyright of the author, And trade secret, some formula, some food, anything proprietary and useful, and interestingly not registered. So this I don't know, trade secret, and maybe for us it's not really important. In fact, trademark, copyright is also not important. In fact, for us actually it's only the patent, and in fact specifically utility patents. So of course for patents you have to requires formal application, and for trademark and copyright maybe registered but not necessarily. So I think it's more simple to have applying for a trademark and getting a trademark. This is the symbol of a new product, or name of the new product, or etc. etc. So just to clear the confusion, that the design patent that we discussed in the previous slide, that is actually ornamental, doesn't have to be related to the jewelry or something like that. It is actually the word is used as in its core meaningful form, which means that basically for most engineered goods, 2 basic types of patents are relevant: design patents and utility patents. Design patent can be thought of as a copyright for the ornamental design of a product. So here ornamental word is not used in the context of jewelry or something like that. Design patents are of very limited value, and hence for this reason in this chapter or in this lecture we'll basically focus on utility patent, which are more relevant for us as a community. So first of all, the patent law is a little bit different in every country. So right now the general information that we are discussing here is related to US law or US patent law, because the book is basically written by a US author, United States author. So according to US law, US law allows for patenting of an invention that relates to new process, machine, article of manufacture, composition of matter or a new and useful improvement of one of these things. So that is interesting. Last one, that it's not necessarily to be totally new thing. It can be improvement of the old thing. Note that inventions embodied in software are sometimes patented, but usually the invention is described as a process or machine. So I mean, what that means is basically you have to encapsulate in a totality of a machine, that let's assume this is the machine and this is how it will work and all these things. So you have to tell all the stories and all these things. Law requires the patented invention to be the following. That means it must have these characteristics of usefulness, novelty, and non-obviousness. Now, what are those? So the usefulness basically naturally means the patented invention must be useful to someone in some context. Novelty means novel inventions are those that are not known publicly and therefore are not evident in existing products, publication, and priori patents. The definition of novelty relates to disclosure of the actual invention to be patented as well. In United States, an invention to be patented must not have been revealed to the public more than a year before the patent is filed. That's important, before the patent is filed. So in our context, it will be like, okay, so you have done a research and you publish the work in a journal, and you are entitled to apply for a patent on that research work within 1 year. You must file that actually. Otherwise, it will be more than one year, so it will not be valid. Finally, non-obviousness basically means the patent law defines obvious invention as those that would be clearly evident to those with ordinary skill in the art. So that's in the inverted comma, in quotation, ordinary skill in the art. That means that, okay, so you're talking about, let's say, some improvement of a certain car parts or maybe some machine, and there are like ordinary skilled labor who are doing those things, and for their context or their point of view, if your invention or what you are proposing is very ordinary and very obvious, that oh yeah, this is obvious that you do that, and it will not be considered as a patent. So these are all the things that a patent examiner will check, and in some context these are subjective, and I think in Indian context there are some interesting thing. I remember there was something like that which talks about the new and useful improvement of something in medical instruments. Improvement of something should not be considered as a patent or something, or maybe it's I'm understanding that particular reading in a wrong way, but I'm just recollecting somewhere long ago I read something. So what I'm trying to mean is that there is always a variation of patent law in country basis, so one must be careful. Now, of course, in case of patent, we always know that there is assignee and there is an inventor. Inventor is basically if you are working in a university and you are filing for a patent, basically you are an inventor, and the assignee will be the university. And in fact, patent is owned by the university, not by you. In fact, if the patent in future will be used, licensed, or maybe used by some corporation or even maybe the university in some way, technically the revenue or whatever it is will come to you. Small percentage of will come to you, and the main bigger fraction will remain in the university. That's the overall law everywhere in the world, I think. So just to be sure, actually it's not like having a patent doesn't mean that you are the richest guy in the world or something like that. Yeah, in fact next slide we'll discuss something more interesting on that. Now, a patent owner has the right to exclude other from using, making, selling, or importing an infringing product. This is an offensive right which requires that the patent owner sue the infringer. That means offensive right means basically you have to be sure that your patent is not used. Here you means basically the university in that previous example that we are discussing. It is the it is the task of the university to be sure that not someone is using the invention, and if someone is using, then you have to file a case against in fact maybe in different country and all these things. So these are very high profile thing, and once in a year maybe you'll hear in the news that big corporation like Samsung filed a case against maybe Xiaomi, or who knows, Apple maybe, because they are infringing, etc., etc. So for a smaller corporation it doesn't really happen. So in that context you may find that then why people go for patent. So that something we should discuss. Now good thing is there are also defensive rights associated with the patent. That means some rights you already gain through when the patent is granted, where you don't have to be vigilant about someone is infringing on your right or something like that. So any invention described in a patent, whether part of the claimed invention or not, is considered by the legal system to be known publicly and forms part of the priori art. This disclosure is a defensive act blocking a competitor from patenting the disclosed invention. So that means, when you are filing for the patent and then of course it get granted, let's say, then basically your case already is made. That become your defensive right. So someone who will be patenting for in future, they can't do the same thing or similar thing. They can't claim that what you have already done. So similarly for the journal paper also, if you are doing totally same thing, then of course it will not get published. That's very obvious. So yeah, that's it about the utility patent. And in the next slide we'll discuss more about so we discussed that the patent is owned by some corporation. If you are working in any company, then it will be owned by the company, not you. You are the inventor, and by law there will be some incentive of being inventor, of course. Most probably in US, I don't know, maybe I think it's the general thing. Most probably there will be some portion of money you will always get if it is get licensed or something. Yeah, now we'll discuss that. Let's say you are an inventor, or you are working in some not working, but let's say you just happens to have some interesting idea about patent and all these things. So what should you do? Like if you are an employee of certain corporation in university, then of course, and technically you are and if you are doing that particular work within the using the facilities of the university or the company, then of course technically automatically it will become the patent of the company or university. But let's assume that you are a self-employed person and all these things. So what you should do, that's the very interesting topic that we'll discuss in the next slide. Now some important advices for individual inventors. So most students of product development and product development professionals have at some point had an idea of a novel product. In fact, I would not say the student of product development, because I won't say that there is a professional who are really into the product development, because unless someone have a core value, core experience of certain field, then product development can be thought of as a extra skill that a certain person have actually. So but then you can't see certain person having product development being a very core skill actually. I don't think that should be the case. Even for a someone, let's say in some university, product development masters or maybe bachelor is taught. In those cases also, maybe they do go through the basic science courses and or some sort of a thing like that, but anyway, so that's a different thing. A common misconception sorry, a common misconception among inventors is that a raw idea or even a product concept is highly valuable, which is not actually. So the advice is this: the reality is actually most cases pursuing a patent is not worth the effort, except as part of a larger effort to take a product concept through a substantial development milestone such as a working prototype. So inventor must typically complete a product design resolving the difficult trade-off associated with addressing customer needs while minimizing production cost. If the design is proven through prototyping and testing, a patent can be an important mechanism for increasing the value of this intellectual property. Licensing a patent to a manufacturer as an individual inventor is very difficult. So what you should do is, if you are serious about your product opportunity, be prepared to pursue commercialization of your product on your own or in partnership with a smaller company, because smaller companies are sometimes they are very open about, I would not say, I mean, they are more approachable entities, because they can you can talk about some idea. But bigger corporation, they are more relied on, they have their all lot of IPs and they are more into their own things. So but then smaller company, they need opportunity to grow and all these things. So if you approach as an individual inventor that this is the idea and I already filed a patent and all these things, so do you want to work with us and maybe 50-50 partnership, or you strike a deal, etc. So once you have demonstrated market for the product, licensing to a larger entity becomes much more likely, because then you basically there will be deal, and then that product can be bought by some bigger company, and that's a win-win for you as an inventor and the smaller company that which you have collaborated with, because you need collaboration, because the product idea and all this thing, or even the basic research in the in silico data or is not enough actually. You need to have a prototype, you need to have some functional product, and it should be marketable and should show some market success. Otherwise nobody, especially the big corporation, they will not be interested in buying it, licensing it, or some sort of acquiring it, whatever you want to put. So that's the advice to the individual inventor. In fact, that's a very good to know about the people who are working in big corporation, all that, because there is a misconception among us about the why we should patent some idea and all this thing. It's not a misconception in a sense that we might feel that the patenting an idea will make us rich or something like that. That's certainly not the case. Most of the cases it's not that the reality actually. So more important that basically people go for patent because they think that, okay, so this is an interesting idea and I have a plan for, let's say, 5 year, 10 year, I want to work on this. And even within an university setup, you can do a lot of commercial activity, like you can, there are most of the bigger universities, especially in India, of course in West they have the history of doing this innovation and all this thing, but in India also people are catching up, and Indian universities, and especially of course the more popular university, they have the various inside bodies, like in case of IT Bombay it's SINE, and then various IIMs have business incubation centers and all these things. So those all entities you can approach and but the point is you need to be at the right place, and it's not that easy if you are from some university and all these things. So maybe I'm not really sure, but that's the reality. So anyway, okay, so that's it about this week's video, and in fact this chapter is not finished yet, and we will go into the further discussion of utility patent and how we can do that. I mean, how to apply for a patent and various other basic detail of utility patent in the next week. And as usual, this is the book I'm using for the lecture series, and of course this is the link where you can download, and in fact these links the information is also given in the description. So see you in the next week. Bye bye.